Hello and welcome to the Design Chimp. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial showing you how to create the text in the sample above. I saw a request on how to achieve this effect on a popular forum that I often visit. So let me give you an overview of how I would do it. Most of the design that I would do is going to be in Photoshop, but I'm going to do the text in Illustrator just because I prefer to do it that way. So when I output it and print it, that the text still looks clean, just because I've had issues with the text in Photoshop. So I have the type tool selected. I'm going to go ahead and type in the Design Chimp, and I'm going to change the text to Arial and Arial Black. Oh, make sure I select it and do Arial and Arial Black, so it's nice and bold. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and I'm going to apply an outline around the text but I'm not going to do it with strokes, but you're going to go ahead and create outlines by right clicking on the text and selecting create outlines. I'm going to change the text to a cyan color, and now we're going to outline this by going to Object, Path, Offset Path. I'm going to do it at 4 points, and you can do millimeters, inches, or whatever just by putting in IN, MM, or CM along with here. I just prefer to do the points. You can preview it so you can see how thick it's going to be. Go ahead and click OK, and once you've done that, I'm going to make the outline solid black. And what I'm going to do is, you can see all these paths that intersect and all that. I'm going to use the compound path tool, which is the same as like the weld tool in Flexi. So go ahead and just click on that, and you can see it merges everything together. And then just go ahead and make sure that that's behind everything else. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is create another text element that says online tutorials, and I'm going to go ahead and choose a scripty kind of font, and this is what I'm going to use. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the same process on this. I'm going to go ahead and right click on that and create outlines, change the color to white, and I'm going to outline it just as we did with the previous text, except I'm going to do it a little bit smaller. We'll do 2-point preview. Okay, then I'm going to make it the same black as the previous text, and I'm going to do the merge of those paths, weld that together, and move it to the back. Okay, now that I have these created, what I'm going to go ahead and do is select the Design Chimp portion of the text. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go over to Photoshop. I'm going to create a new document, and it's going to be 8.5 inches wide by 11 tall, and the resolution is 300 right now. Normally when I do print stuff, I do it at 720 dpi, and usually around 10% of the size that I'm actually going to be outputting. And the reason for that is so when you're applying the blending or layer effects, that it keeps it I guess proportionate, and you can have more options and variety. Where if you did it at the full size of what you wanted to do, say 80 inches wide by however tall, that when you applied like a bevel or anything like that, it would be very, very small. So just go ahead and click OK. I'm going to paste here is a smart object. Make it a little bit bigger, and just click enter to place that. And I'll zoom in so we can see what we're working on. Okay, so now that I have that, what I'm going to go ahead and do is click on the magic wand tool to just select the blue inside of the text. If you look up here, you may have this box checked on Photoshop, and this actually just makes it so you have to select the individual color or selections one by one. Where if you uncheck that, it'll select everything that is that same color that you're trying to select. So as you can see, it'll select the whole thing. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that by hitting Control or Command C, and pasting that to a new layer. So I'm only going to be editing the blue portion of that text. And going to apply some layer effects by right clicking on layer 1 here and go into the blending options. And first I'm going to do a stroke. And I'm going to do a light blue stroke to kind of offset the darker blue text. So O2E4FF. I'm going to use this teal kind of color. Click OK. Make sure that the stroke is going to be inside the text, as you can see. And I'm going to make the stroke a little bit bigger. I'm going to do it at 4 pixels. And then the next thing I'm going to do is apply a gradient overlay. And then this makes it just a regular linear black and white gradient. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is change the blend mode to overlay, so it makes it a dark to light blue. And then the last thing that I'm going to do in here is a inner shadow. And as you can see, it kind of creates that effect already, but I'm just going to fix these up a little bit. I'm going to reduce the opacity on that down to about 40%. Move the distance out a little bit. As you can see, it's kind of hidden by that inside stroke. So when I do it at 12 pixels, it kind of brings it out. And the size I'm going to shrink down to about 3 pixels to make it more of a hard edge. So now that I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And I'm going to apply a gradient over that stroke that's around all those effects that we just did. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is hold Control or Command and select on the thumbnail part of the layer. So it selects that. And I have my white already selected. Select the gradient tool and just make sure that your gradient is the white to transparent. My bad. Create a new layer so it applies that white over, and then drag down. And as you can see, it made that white gradient. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is make it so it's just on the stroke portion of the text. So go to Select, Modify, Contract. And this contracts the selection, and we know that we made that stroke 4 pixels, so just make sure that you're going to contract it by the same amount. And you can see that the marching ants move in, and then just go ahead and click Delete. And then it just applied that gradient to the outside of the text. So, I mean, it's getting kind of close to what we want the final to look like. What I'm going to do is Command or Control click layer 1 again, and I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm actually going to do the same thing as we did with the white. I'm going to go to Select and then Modify and contract it again by the same amount, the 4 pixels, because as you can see in the example, there's kind of a black stroke that goes around it. So once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit Stroke, so I can stroke that selection. I'm going to leave it at 2 pixels, and I'm going to do it a black hard line, and I'm going to make sure that it's just in the center. You can do on the outside or inside. I'm just going to leave mine like that. And now hit Control or Command D to deselect that, and as you can see, it's got now a hard black line. I'm going to actually go through and select the eraser tool and just kind of select parts of it so it gives it a different effect. I'm going to drag the opacity down to 40%, so it's not going to delete everything on one click, but it'll kind of fade it out. And I'm just going to kind of start clicking and moving through the text to where it's got those hard black lines in some spots. And I'm just moving through and randomly clicking the mouse so it makes that nice fade, but keeps some of the black hard. Now that I have that done, in the example you can see that it's kind of got some flash or lens flare looks to it. What you're going to want to do to achieve that is create a new layer and select white. So when you're painting the brush, that's white. And you may have to download a brush pack to get these starry shaped brushes, or they may be preloaded on your Photoshop, you can just click the link below to download the Starburst brush pack. But I'm just going to go ahead and use one of these stock Photoshop brushes. I'm going to increase the size a little bit on it. We'll do it at about 60 pixels. Okay, and then I'm just going to go through here and just kind of keep clicking until you see it give that little shine effect. And you can change how bright that effect is going to be by the opacity on your brush. I have mine pretty low, so it starts off subtle, and as you keep clicking in the same spot, it will get darker and darker. And that way you can kind of do them at different opacities, so it doesn't all look the same, and it kind of gives it that nice effect. So after I do that, you can see it's pretty much, for the most part, done. And I'm going to go back to Illustrator and copy that last portion of text and bring it back into Photoshop. I'm going to do it as a smart object, and I'm just going to kind of resize it. I'm just going to place it right there. And as you can see, it's pretty close to the effect that you were looking to achieve. And if you have any other questions, you can leave them in the comments below, or use the contact page to get in touch with us or request another tutorial. Thanks.